About 6 years ago, I purchased my first DSLR camera. It was a Canon T2i. I also had a kit lens with that, and that's kind of where I got started with photography. The following year, I decided I want to start making money with my hobby, with my passion. So I knew I needed to upgrade my camera gear, turn things a little bit more professional. So I talked to some mentors that I had at the time who had helped me get my company started. They were big time Nikon shooters, and I listened to what they said, and I liked what they said, and I liked their work. I wanted to model my work after their work because that's how I was taught to shoot, and that's what I thought would work well for me as well. I went out and purchased a Nikon D810. That was my first professional grade camera that I ever used, and was still the camera I used until about 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I decided to make a change. I made this change because my camera gear was starting to fall apart. The Nikon D810 is about an 8-year-old camera. I'll have to double check that. Correct me in the comments if I had that wrong, but I'm pretty sure it came out for the first time 8 years ago. The camera's getting pretty old. It's a beast of a camera. It can definitely handle everything that I need it to. I just shoot so many photos. My cameras were falling apart and I was shooting on used cameras. It was time to upgrade. As my business grew, I needed more professional gear. I need higher end gear. I needed to keep up with the times. About a year ago, Nick joined me and started taking lead of all things video for us here at Forte Films and Stills. Since he had just got into the industry full time, he had went out and bought all this new gear. He had the newest stuff, the best setups, the lenses, everything. I knew that I needed to update my camera gear, and the next step up for me really would be a Nikon Z9. I looked at some of the other mirrorless cameras that Nikon offered, and they just were not quite there at the level that I needed them to be. Really, a lot of them would have been a bit of a step down from the Nikon D810, even though it's an 8-year-old camera. The Nikon Z9, I believe, retails for just the body around like $5,000. It's a different lens mount, so I'd have to buy all new lenses unless I use an adapter. Obviously, that can get really pricey really quick. Being a wedding photographer, you need duplicate gear. You need backup cameras, you need backup lenses. Your stuff breaks, it's run and gun. You don't have time to be all careful with your gear. You're kind of throwing it around. If I had bought Nikon Z9, that'd be a pretty hefty investment. Probably up around $20,000 for me to get a proper setup with that. So I had a dilemma. What camera do I upgrade to? Do I keep holding out with Nikon D810? Do I upgrade to the D850 and stay with the mirrorless system and wait even longer to go mirrorless? So I looked into Panasonic. That's the gear that Nick shoots on. They're best known for video. As a matter of fact, I don't think I even know a single photographer that shoots on Panasonic for photos. It's a pretty rare thing, at least in my circles in the photography world. But I wanted to look into it because I thought they must have a camera that's geared towards photos. Turns out they did. They have the S1R, the Lumix S1R, which is pretty much a beast of a camera as well. That retail, I don't know, I'm not positive where that retail is at right now, but it's a lot more cheaper than the Z9. I said, you know what? I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna give it a go. And so I purchased one. The nice thing with being on the same brand and lens mount as Nick is now we're able to share lenses, we're able to share batteries. And on top of that, if I need to switch over to video, I'm a lot more set up to do that on the Panasonic cameras. With Nikon, I could do it. It'd be kind of tough, but the Panasonic's just way more better built for video. All right, so let's get into why I actually switched to Panasonic cameras for photos. I want to preface this by saying the camera does not make the photographer. If you switch from one brand to another, it's not going to all of a sudden make you an incredible photographer overnight. It really doesn't have that much to do with it. What really makes you a professional photographer is your use of light and your composition. Throw out any ideas of switching cameras just for the sake of thinking it's going to make you a better photographer, because it's not. It really isn't. That being said, I've also preached that you should just pick a brand and stick with it, get familiar with it, know it backwards and forwards. I understand this may be a little bit against what I usually tell people to do, but I'm about to explain why that is right now. Since we're a brand, I think it's an important thing for us to be using the same camera gear with the same color science, with the same editing presets. All our stuff needs to look consistent, whether it's photos or video. And I think one major step in that is shooting on the same camera gear. Since Nick had already updated his camera gear and had much more up-to-date stuff than I did, I thought, well, I'll check out Panasonic and see what they have that's geared towards stills. And so that was the S1R. I thought about renting it first. I thought about trying to check out a couple different other options as well, but I ended up just going for it and buying it. it. So not only does that make us more consistent as a brand with our final product, when we're delivering photos and video, and also our Instagram, our website, and everything, but now we're sharing lenses, we can share batteries, everything is compatible with each other. If I need to jump to videos for a day, I can do that now because Panasonic is much better geared toward video than Nikon was. Another big factor in why I switched was the pricing. For me to get a whole new setup with Nikon, I may have ended up spending $20,000 before I had a complete setup of what I thought looked good. But with Panasonic, I could get another full setup, use some Nix gear, and probably keep it under $10,000. It's a major investment to switch brands. It's a major investment to buy camera gear and to buy lenses. Again, it's not the camera gear that makes the photographer. It's your use of light, it's your composition. This is just a tool that I use to capture the thing that I set up. So at this point, I've shot a couple different things with the camera. The first camera that I bought, I made a big mistake and bought a used version, which had a bad sensor, so I had to send that back and get a new one in. But I got my new one in, and now I've shot a few sessions with this. At first glance, I am loving it. I got a battery grip for it, which I've always been a battery grip shooter. It's not for everyone, but I just like big bulky stuff. And that's one of the big things with the S1R is it's so much more bulky than a lot of these other mirrorless systems out there. A lot of the mirrorless cameras out there are built to be smaller, to be lighter. I love just the DSLR feel. I like how big this is. It has a big, deep grip, and everything is just so easy to use. I just feel like this is a really user-friendly camera. It feels similar to a Nikon in a lot of ways too. I've shot a couple senior sessions, a couple engagement sessions, and I just shot a full wedding with it for the first time. Everything has been working great. My only one complaint has been the autofocus. I'm not sure if I'm just not used to mirrorless systems autofocus. I will say my 8-year-old Nikon D810 seems to focus a lot faster and a lot more accurately than this camera. This is pretty early on in the stage of trying this out. Maybe my opinion will change on that. Maybe it's user error. It totally could be. I am definitely not a tech guy. Maybe that's why I like the S1R so much, is its ease of use. The menus are easy. Everything about it has just been really easy to transition from Nikon to Panasonic. I'll check in again later down the road after I've maybe done like a full year shooting with this and really have a good idea. It takes a little bit to get used to a different camera, how it focuses. So much of it's just muscle memory for me at this point that it's gonna take a little bit of time. But so far, so good. It's all been deliverable, it's all been usable. It hasn't scared me off, so I'm gonna keep on using it. Another thing that I really have loved about this camera is the color. I was worried because I really like Nikon colors. I edit a little bit more on the moody dark side, switching a little bit more towards light and airy, kind of blending the best of both worlds. This camera's colors have been great so far. I have no complaints there. The skin tones don't look weird to me. And as a matter of fact, the stuff I did at the wedding the other day with a flash, I don't know what it was, but the skin tones just looked amazing. And I don't use good flashes either, so that must have been the color science of the camera. Maybe down the road we'll get a little bit more specced out on some of this stuff, some of the details. This camera has been a beast so far. I'm having fun shooting with it. It's been such a crazy experience, like shooting on somewhat newer of a camera because I've always ran old gear. Let us know in the comments. Are you a Panasonic shooter? Have you ever tried Panasonic? Am I crazy for shooting weddings on a Panasonic for stills? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any questions that I can answer. If you're thinking about switching camera brands and maybe you're thinking about Panasonic because you want to switch between photo and video, maybe it's worth a look. Check out our stuff on our website, on our Instagram. This is one of our first videos in the studio. We're so excited to have this space and to be able to make more videos like this. We're gonna do some educational stuff. We're gonna do some gear reviews. So let us know also in the comments what you want to see. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. We got tons more content coming out. We do our best to do a lot of behind the scenes and actual valuable information that's not just selling you a product. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Done. Well,